Welcome to the Channel 6 Scoreboard for the Echo Online. I'm Brittany Breeding. I have with me Michael Deere and Andy Robertson. We're going to talk about the UCA football as they prepare for Montana State. Guys, UCA came from behind with a 26-24 lead over UT Martin. What do you think stood out about this win?
Well, what stood out to me most was probably how flat UCA came out in the beginning, considering how well they prepared for Texas Tech. And maybe that's because you have a whole fall camp to do so. But Texas Tech, they came out prepared, ready to go, fired up, caught Texas Tech off guard. This week they came out, and you'd think the first home game they'd be really prepared to play, really fired up. Got a home, you had 10,000 plus at Estes Stadium. Yet they came out and had a very poor first half. But with saying that, they came out and all they could do was really improve from the first half, and they had a great second half. Defense played a lot better. You can tell this defense flies the ball. Everybody's trying to get on the tackles. What I liked most on the defense was holding UT Martin to 3 points in the second half. Offensively, you had the change at quarterback again, which we'll get into, but they scored on every possession they had in the second half, 2 field goals and 2 touchdowns. If you're going to come back and win games, that's what you have to do, and they did it.
Right, and I think the key plays late in the game really propelled them to victory. Like the 4th and 15 and the interception really was what actually won the game for them to stop UT Martin. But yeah, it seemed like UT Martin kind of came out more prepared this week because coming off that bad loss to Kentucky, and they were just came in ready to fight against UCA, and it seemed like UCA may have been riding a little bit of a high against Texas Tech, and But yeah, they did come out and establish themselves in the second half defensively and offensively. Like you said, 3 points to UT Martin and then 19 points on offense. So that was pretty good compared to what they did in the first half.
Yeah, what they're going to have to learn is when you're playing, like coming into conference season, when you're playing the McNeese States and Northwestern States, Sam Houston, a slow start like that will get you beat in the first half. There won't be a second half to be able to come back because those teams are good enough, have enough athleticism. Their coaching is going to game plan for the UCA offense, and they're going to have good changes in the second half. What UCA cannot do is afford to go on the road to Montana State and come out with a flat performance in the first half because they could easily find themselves behind 21, 24 points, and the game could be almost over at that point.
Yeah, and they just got to come out defensively and really find their identity in this next game.
Definitely. So UCA may have a little bit of a quarterback controversy with Taylor Reed and Ryan Howard. If you were Coach Campbell, who would you put in to play against Montana State?
I would start Ryan Howard. He seems like the more consistent quarterback, more accurate. Seems like Taylor Reed's throw is a little long. We saw Howard come in last year after Winrick Smothers went down, and he played really well. So, and he's played well in the limited time he's had so far. It just seems like Taylor Reed comes out. I mean, he's the dual threat quarterback, not typical college quarterback and everything, but he just seems like he misses a lot of passes that he should make, and it's kind of, as a fan, it's kind of hard to see that when you have Ryan Howard on the bench who can make those throws.
Right. The good thing for Coach Campbell, in my opinion, is you can't go wrong with either of them. Ryan Howard, he can start for me any day. Taylor Reed, the old saying, don't fix it if it's not broken. Taylor Reed started the last 2 games. You've come away with a close loss at Texas Tech, which most people were either a little surprised it was that close or how much of a fight they really did give Texas Tech. UCA easily could have come away with a victory in that game. But for this, honestly, now if Ryan Howard does not lead them down on the touchdown drive, the final drive of the game, and wins the game for him, do you think you start Ryan Howard if he doesn't win that game? Let's say maybe just the 4th and 15 they don't get. Do you start Ryan Howard at Montana State?
Possibly. I mean, like I said, we've seen Ryan Howard be consistent in the past. So I mean, like I like what you said. Like either way, you can't go wrong. But I mean, I just feel like Ryan Howard probably gives them a better chance to win, regardless of the dual threat capability.
For him to come in after only playing in the first quarter for one series, one series for the second quarter, did not play at all in the third quarter, then comes back in for the fourth quarter and leads them down. I mean, that's awesome to be able to all right, next guy up, let's go, lead us in for the game-winning touchdown drive. If you're Ryan Howard, I mean, the nagging injuries, I guess he can't play a full game. If that's going to be how the rotation is, I think it might be fine now how it is, but if you're into conference play and you've got to keep pulling him off the bench to get you the win, that could be a little troublesome with the team chemistry maybe, because at some point you want the guys on offense to know this is my leader, this is the guy that I'm rolling with every single play unless barring a crazy injury or something like that. I would start Taylor Reed this game. only because of what he can do in the rushing attack. Arkansas State had good success against Montana State. But really, at this point, I'd go. I mean, if Ryan Howard's going to be healthy, I agree with you. I'd probably start Ryan Howard. But for this game, and considering how they've started the first 2 games with Taylor Reed, I guess you'd keep Reed in.
Right, and Ryan Howard's he's probably has a lot of confidence right now after making those last few throws at the end of the game. And who knows what Taylor Reed's confidence level is like right now. Keep getting pulled out in the end or last few drives of the game. But I mean, it could not bother him at all. I mean, he's gone through several coaches, so I mean, maybe his confidence has not phased at all. So.
Yeah, and what we haven't talked about is like how both of them are working together. When you see one on out at quarterback, the other one's next to Coach Campbell, going through the plays, they know what's going on. They're treating each other like it wouldn't be a backup job as first and second string. They're treating each other like, all right, let's help each other out because we're both in this together. They're working well together, and that's a positive for Coach Campbell and for both. I mean, hopefully both of them have confidence through the roof right now. 1-1, things couldn't have been going really better for each of them. They're both involved in what's going to be a pretty good football team.
So what are your keys to victory against Montana State, and who do you think is going to win?
Well, my keys to victory, number one, it's going to start with the defense. Going on the road, I always, for some reason, I mean, they say the team's going to travel, but defense seems to not travel sometimes on the road. You go somewhere and you're not in front of your home crowd. And Montana State, although they didn't play a good game against Arkansas State, they played a smaller school this last week, ran all over them. So that's going to have their confidence level up. They're going to feel like, all right, we're back to playing Montana State football. UCA's got to come in and win the turnover battle. They won the turnover battle at Texas Tech, only lost by 7. Won the turnover battle with a big interception at the end of the game to beat UT Martin. If the defense plays well, keeps them in the game, I think this offense is going to do well. And only if they'll do well, only if Taylor Reed has a good game rushing the ball. Freddie Knighton, the quarterback for Arkansas State, had a big game against Montana State on the ground with their read option offense. If UCA can incorporate some of the things that they saw in that film into this game, then UCA can be pretty effective, and I think they come out with a win. I have the Bears winning 41-31.
All right, and I agree with that too, like the defense ability, because we've seen against UT Martin, they struggled in the first half, and the second half they were able to make the adjustments. So hopefully they carry that momentum from the defensive side over to Bozeman, and hopefully the weather isn't a factor. I don't think we've brought that up yet. Martin's a little bit different than Arkansas.
It's going to be a little bit cooler up there.
Yeah, so another thing, I think they need to establish a running game, kind of like what you said. And maybe if it's not Taylor Reed, just send out
somebody,
Willie Matthews or Blake Veasley to try and get that different look as opposed to throwing the ball every down. So, but UCA's defense hasn't played very well so far. They've given up 33 points per game, and Montana State's offense has scored 33.5. So it could be a little different game, but I have Montana State coming out with the win, 31-21.
Well, thank you, Michael and Andy, for joining me. That'll do it for this week's edition of Channel 6 Scoreboard for the Echo Online. Tune in next week as we preview the Bears game when they host Missouri State.